Digital printing offers a greener path for the world of graphic communications. But how does it compare to other major printing methods like flexography, screen printing, and gravure? Unlike traditional offset printing, which requires metal plates for each job, flexography uses flexible photopolymer plates, and screen printing relies on mesh screens for every design. Think about that for a moment. Every time an offset or flexo press runs a new project, new plates or screens must be created, consuming materials and energy. This process uses significant resources, from mining metals for offset to producing photopolymers and chemicals for flexo and screen printing. Digital printing completely bypasses these steps, requiring no plates or screens at all. It takes a file directly from a computer and prints it, much like your desktop printer at home, but on a much grander and more sophisticated scale, unlike screen or flexo, which require manual setup and cleanup. This direct-to-print method eliminates a major source of industrial waste and chemical usage right from the start, a clear advantage over both flexography and screen printing. The efficiency of digital printing also leads to a dramatic reduction in waste, while traditional and analog methods often generate significant spoilage during setup. Traditional presses, including offset, flexo, and screen, need a long setup time. During this make-ready phase, hundreds or even thousands of sheets are used just to get the colors and registration right. All of this paper, along with the ink used on it, is immediately discarded, an environmental cost that digital printing largely avoids. Digital presses, on the other hand, require almost no make-ready. The first print off the machine is a usable, sellable copy, unlike the trial and error of analog methods. This precision means that printers can produce exactly the number of copies a client needs, whether it is 1 or 1,000, something that's much harder and less economical with flexo or screen printing. This concept, known as print on demand, is one of the greatest environmental advantages of digital technology, while analog methods often require large minimum runs to be cost-effective. Another key benefit is the reduction in water and chemical waste. Screen and flexo printing both use significant water and chemicals for plate and screen cleaning. Offset printing is a wet process, relying on a delicate balance of ink and water. Flexo and screen printing can use water-based or solvent-based inks, but still generate wastewater and emissions. These processes generate contaminated water that requires treatment before it can be safely discharged, adding to their environmental footprint. Many of the cleaning solvents and chemicals used to maintain offset, flexo, and screen presses are also hazardous. Digital printing, particularly methods like inkjet, uses less water and fewer volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, than any of the analog methods. The inks are often water-based or cured with UV light, which solidifies the ink instantly without releasing harmful fumes, creating a much cleaner and safer working environment compared to solvent, heavy screen, or flexo printing. Finally, consider the impact on inventory and shipping, which is affected by the minimum run requirements of flexo and screen printing. Because digital printing makes short runs economical, companies no longer need to print massive quantities of brochures, books, or catalogs that might become outdated, unlike with flexo or screen. This prevents warehouses from filling up with obsolete materials that eventually end up in a landfill, a common issue with traditional print methods. Businesses can order what they need, when they need it, with digital, while analog methods often force overproduction. This also decentralizes production. A book file can be sent electronically to a printer in another country, to be printed locally for that market, something not possible with plate or screen-based methods. This drastically cuts down on the fuel, cost, and carbon emissions associated with shipping heavy pallets of printed goods across oceans and continents, a major sustainability win over traditional methods. The entire supply chain becomes leaner and more responsive with digital printing, setting it apart from the slower, more resource-intensive processes of flexography, screen, and offset printing. Despite these clear environmental advantages, the printing industry has been slow to fully embrace digital technology. The primary roadblock is the staggering initial investment. A high-production digital press is not a small purchase. It is a major capital expenditure that can easily run into hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. For a small or medium-sized print shop, which represents the backbone of the industry, this cost is often prohibitively high. They are running businesses on thin margins, and financing such a massive upgrade is a significant risk. The math simply does not work out for many of them, especially when their existing offset presses are fully paid for and still running reliably. The economic model of digital printing also presents a challenge. The cost per piece on a digital press is higher than on an offset press for long runs. Offset printing has high setup costs, but once the press is running, the cost to print each additional copy is very low. Digital printing has almost no setup cost, but the price per copy remains relatively constant. This means that for large jobs, like a magazine with a circulation of 50,000, offset is still much more economical. Many printers are hesitant to invest in a technology that makes them less competitive on high-volume work, which is often their most profitable business. They are caught in a difficult position, wanting to be more sustainable but needing to remain financially viable. Furthermore, the companies that manufacture these digital presses often operate like technology giants rather than traditional equipment suppliers. They have created a business model built around monopoly control. The handful of corporations that dominate the high-end digital press market, such as HP, Canon, and Xerox, have immense power over pricing. There is not enough competition to drive down the initial cost of the machines. A printer cannot shop around for a bargain in the same way they could with more traditional equipment. This lack of competition means the manufacturers can keep prices artificially high, knowing that printers who want to enter the high-quality digital market have very few alternatives to turn to. This market structure creates a barrier that prevents widespread adoption. The technology exists to make the entire printing industry cleaner and more efficient, but it remains locked behind a high financial wall. Many printers understand and believe in the sustainable promise of digital, but they cannot justify the expense to their accountants or their banks. The result is a stalled revolution. The potential for a massive positive environmental impact is being held back, not by a lack of technological capability, but by economic realities and a market structure that favors a few powerful corporations. The green choice is, unfortunately, also the most expensive one for most businesses. The high price of the machine itself is only the beginning of the financial burden. The real genius of the manufacturer's business model lies in creating closed systems. When a print shop buys a digital press, they are not just buying a piece of hardware. They are buying into an entire ecosystem controlled by the manufacturer. This means they are often locked into purchasing all their supplies: ink, print heads, special coatings, and even service contracts, directly from that same company. This is very similar to the razor and blades model, where the initial product is sold, but the real profit comes from the continuous sale of essential, proprietary consumables that are needed to make it work. These consumables are sold at a significant markup. The ink for a high-production digital press, for example, is not something a printer can buy from a third-party supplier. It is a specific formulation protected by patents, and the press is often designed with chips or software that will not allow it to run with any other ink. This gives the manufacturer a complete monopoly over their customers' supply chain. Print shops have no choice but to pay the asking price, which can fluctuate based on the manufacturer's business decisions, not on the actual cost of producing the ink. This makes it incredibly difficult for printers to control or predict their operating costs, a critical factor in a competitive industry. Patents and intellectual property are used as powerful tools to maintain this control. The companies invest heavily in research and development, and they protect every innovation with an ironclad portfolio of patents. This is, of course, their right. However, it has the effect of stifling competition and slowing down the commoditization of the technology. In a healthy market, competitors would emerge, reverse engineer the technology, and offer compatible, lower-cost alternatives. In the world of high-end digital presses, this is nearly impossible due to the aggressive legal protection of these closed systems. Innovation becomes trapped within the walls of a few large corporations. This lack of openness hurts the entire industry. It keeps prices for both machines and supplies artificially inflated, preventing smaller players from adopting the technology. It also limits the potential for experimentation and improvement that comes from a more open market. If third-party ink manufacturers could compete, they might develop even more environmentally friendly formulations or specialty inks for new applications. But the closed system prevents this kind of organic innovation. The path to a more sustainable printing industry is therefore blocked not just by the price of the hardware, but by a deliberate business strategy that prioritizes long-term, high-margin revenue streams over accessibility and open competition. To truly unleash the sustainable potential of digital printing, we need a fundamental shift in the industry's economic structure. One of the most impactful changes would be the promotion of more open systems. This could be encouraged through industry standards or even regulatory pressure that pushes manufacturers toward interoperability. Imagine a future where a printer could buy a press from one company and choose from several different certified ink suppliers based on price, performance, or environmental credentials. This competition would naturally drive down the cost of consumables, making the total cost of owning and operating a digital press far more accessible for a wider range of businesses. Another key step is to foster greater competition in the hardware market itself. This is a long-term goal, but it could be supported by encouraging new entrants and challenging anti-competitive practices. Governments and industry associations can play a role by supporting smaller innovators and ensuring that patent laws are not used to unfairly create perpetual monopolies. As more manufacturers enter the market for high-production digital presses, the initial purchase price of the equipment will inevitably fall. When printers have more choices, they gain more leverage, forcing all manufacturers to offer more competitive pricing and better value to win their business. Financial incentives could also help accelerate the transition. Governments that are serious about promoting sustainable business practices could offer green tax credits or low-interest loans specifically for print shops looking to upgrade from older, less efficient offset technology to modern digital presses. This would help bridge the financial gap that currently prevents so many small and medium-sized businesses from making the switch. By subsidizing the initial investment, we can help printers overcome the primary economic barrier and align their business goals with broader environmental objectives, creating a win-win situation for both the industry and the planet. Ultimately, the future of sustainable printing depends on a combination of technological innovation and economic reform. The technology is already here. It is powerful, efficient, and clean. The challenge is to make it accessible. By breaking down the walls of closed systems, fostering healthy competition, and providing smart financial incentives, we can move past the current stalemate. We can empower printers of all sizes to choose the more sustainable option without risking their financial survival. This will finally allow the digital printing revolution to deliver on its full promise, transforming graphic communications into an industry that is not only vibrant and dynamic, but also a responsible steward of our environment.